webinar. Myself and Kyle are both, we've been investing in Calgary since 2019. Overall, the whole group of us have 10 plus properties in the Calgary area, and that's not including family. If we get into family, that increases significantly. So who am I and who is Kyle? Well, myself, I'm owner and broker of record of Remax Wealth Builders. I've been selling real estate in Toronto for over 12 years, #1 agent in Ontario for individual transactions. I gotta update this. Yeah, I'm #9 Remax agent in Canada, currently number 5 in Canada, #9 in the world. Currently inducted the Remax Hall of Fame, awarded the Remax Lifetime Achievement Award of 35, and awarded the Remax Circle Legends Award 40. But none of that matters. What matters is investing. And that's what I've been doing. And I've been doing it for a while. So I've turned a $39,000 deposit into, and it's actually more than $14 million now. It's a $17 million portfolio, which includes 14 condos, a High Park triplex, and an apartment building in Hamilton. And here's my portfolio, everything right here. Kyle, it is a new presentation, but I didn't have these are the current numbers.
Awesome.
So if you're wondering, like, what's he doing? No, it's the new presentation, but I just switched this slide. This is my whole portfolio here, and why I show everyone. I want to be transparent. Kyle's going to show his portfolio as well, but we also want to show you that real estate is a long run game. It's not a short game, and we talk about that every day. You know, just today when we were on a call, I was saying, because we get calls, people they get panicked and like, oh, I want to sell my property on assignment. And I'm like, well, you might as well just take your money and get some diesel fuel and pour it all over the money and light it on fire, because you're just throwing money away. And then I said, well, you know, when people say they want to sell on assignment, ask them if they're going to cash out their RRSPs. And their reply would be no. And why aren't you going to cash out your RRSPs? Because it's not beneficial from a tax perspective. Okay. And the market's down, so I'd be selling him for less than I'd like. So then why do you want to sell your property now, specifically if it's assignment or less than built for less than 1 year, because you'll be over double taxed and you're selling in a down market. So if you apply that rationale to real estate, the same way you look at your RRSPs, it's a long-term hold. You'll always win in the long run. And I won't get into interest rates yet, because I'm already going down a rabbit hole in another direction, but we'll talk about interest rates shortly, and just don't worry about interest rates at all. But we will talk about this more, and I'll tell you why. So anyways, well, you look at your portfolio over the long run, my portfolio would be worth 17 plus million today, and be worth $42 million in 30 years. That's at a 3% compounded annual growth rate. Why does that matter? In 30 years, all my properties have been paid off because there's been someone living in all my properties, and the tenants have paid off the properties for me. That is the beautiful thing. That's the beautiful thing over the long run. Now, Kyle, why don't you talk a little bit about yourself before we show them what really matters when you look at it in the long run?
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. My name is Kyle Dovigi, and I'm actually licensed in Ontario and Alberta. Like Alex mentioned, we both bought into that first property in 2012. So I've been investing for over 10 years now. I've got 6 properties myself, a little bit slower than Alex, but I've still built up a multi-million-dollar portfolio that I'll show you in just a moment over that time. In a past career, I actually managed Lotto 649 and Lotto Max. I was the draws manager. And I've said this statistic before, about a third of people playing the lottery were planning on funding their retirement by winning the jackpot. That's just crazy. So I ended up leaving the lottery, and I now help people build their real estate portfolios that are actually going to fund their retirement. And just last year alone, I helped over 130 people to start or build their portfolio. And majority of those have been in Calgary. So looking at my portfolio, I bought the first one in the Carnaby. This was in West Queen West, which was not a good area at that time. And over time, it has significantly improved, and those properties have appreciated. I was working a regular job at this time, and I was able to continue to save money in order to continue to grow my portfolio. And I bought a freehold property in 2015, a second condo in 2016, and I started being able to refinance those properties to help grow my portfolio even more without taking any more money out of my pocket. And today, current market value is almost $4.5 million. And looking out in 30 years, it's going to be a $10 million portfolio. And that's just appreciation. Doesn't include cash flow, doesn't include any principal repayment. And I like to call myself the condo millionaire because, I'm a millionaire with real estate. Anyone can do this. Anyone can become a condo millionaire. It just takes one property and time.
You're doing great. I don't even need to talk anymore. And this is where like people are like, well, why Calgary? And this is probably our first good why Calgary point. So when Kyle and I both bought our first investment condos in 2012, we bought them in the around 260,000 range. Okay, go ahead, go on MLS right now. Find me a property for $260,000 in the GTA. Let's just say GTA. Ontario. Go look at Ontario and find me some properties for $260,000 in all of Ontario. So when we started looking at Calgary, we saw a similar environment where we can get in at a low cost entry point with properties that will cash flow. It's the same reason why we bought in Queen West back then. Attractive price point. And the properties will cash flow, and then we've been rewarded by buying and holding on those properties, and we'll get into more detail of why we see upward trajectory in Calgary, and we've been helping people do that in just 2022 alone. It's actually more than 300. It's 360, I think 360 people group 360 individual sales. It's more than 360 people. We got couples and families that are buying that kind of thing. And again, our team has personally invested in 10 plus Calgary pre-construction units. So speaking of growing a portfolio, if you look at your house is your largest asset. Okay. But it's a terrible investment vehicle in that, yeah, your house has gone up in value and maybe you've been diligent and been paying down that mortgage, but you're making no money other than just depreciation on the property. And it's not generating you a return or anything. It's just the natural appreciation of the property. Now, what you can do, and this is how I've grown things, and this is how Kyle has grown things, is that you can use your home to fund your retirement. Keep your home in your retirement. So instead of having one property going up in value, imagine you had two properties or three properties or 4 or 5, or in my case, 18. If you have all these properties going up in value, that is actually how you're going to fund your retirement. We've done the math. Each $350,000 condo represents over $24,000 of annual income in your retirement years. And that 24K is in today's purchasing power. So what that means is you don't have to worry about inflation. That's not even an inflation-based number. $24,000 worth of annual income in your retirement years with today's purchasing power. And where I said, if you like Kyle right now, he's at 6 properties or 18 properties. It may seem like a daunting number, but we broke this down into bite-sized goals. And bite-sized, $1 million portfolio value, but a $1 million portfolio value, that's like 2 Toronto condos or 1.5 Toronto condos. That would be 3 Calgary condos. And then you just grow it over time. We didn't start this yesterday. We started in 2012. I was more aggressive, but this is what I've done every day since 2008. And Kyle, he's only been doing it for a few years now. So we're growing our portfolios, and you can grow your portfolios too. And if you just have a $1 million portfolio, that's going to give you inflation. Like today's purchasing power is $70,000 annual income a year if you just did a 5% rate of return on that, which is a conservative number. If you have a $2 million portfolio, $140,000 a year you can pay you in today's purchasing power. You are building your own pension fund. Kyle, I get so passionate about this. Kyle, you want to add anything onto this? Like, I
I
think it's
just think this
important.
chart is so powerful when you look at it, breaking it down by, $1 million sounds like a lot, but it's really not that much when you look at it in terms of real estate. This is easily achievable by just about everyone on this call.
Yeah, everyone. And the great thing is you're going to have a tenant in the property that's going to pay down the mortgage. So if we go back to when I said my portfolios were 17 million, if I sold it today, I'm not getting 17 million in my pocket. That's not the net value. I have mortgages on all those properties, and significant mortgages. I have many mortgages at 6% plus right now, 6% plus. Not worried at all. Actually, this afternoon I dug deep into my portfolio because I have a number of closings coming up this year, next year. Not worried at all. And again, I'll tell you why later. Kyle, you have any messages? We kind of talked about messages, but I'm not worried about interest rates at all. And we'll tell you guys more about that because I'm sure that'll be a hot topic in the Q&A. But I do have that answer. So why Calgary? When we first started looking at Calgary in 2019, it was like, well, what's this city? We're both from Northern Ontario, a city called Sudbury. That's where we grew up. We lived in Toronto since we graduated university in 2004. So it's what's attractive to Calgary? Well, from a living perspective, most livable city in North America, most livable city in the world, fourth most livable city in the world, top 5 of the Economist Intelligence Global Livability Index for 10 consecutive years. Located in the foothills of Canadian Rockies, loads of green space, second lowest cost of living in Canada. And what Kyle says, very nice people. Are they nice, Kyle?
Absolutely. Friendliest people I've met.
Yeah. And why we say this is we deal with people every day on phone calls. People schedule meetings with us. And sometimes people don't call you back, Kyle, or sometimes people hang up on you, right? But has an Albertan done that to you?
Never.
And even when, let's say they purchase a unit from you, any unit we deal with, you have a 10-day rescissionary period. Every time, let's say someone from Alberta cancels, are they very gracious?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So again, it's very, very, very nice people there, and that matters if that's a city that you're looking to relocate to, or the residents are looking to move there, where urban meets nature. So and it has not been sunny, I feel like, all winter here in Toronto. And that's not normal, but it's been a very gray winter. Not in Calgary. It's the sunniest city in Canada with 2,300 sun-filled hours, most extensive outdoor pathway network, and ranked second for healthiest lifestyles. Vancouver is not sunny. Toronto's supposed to be sunny. I don't know where the sun went. But Calgary is actually sunny. It's the most sunniest city in Canada, and that matters. And you have the Rocky Mountains right next door to you. 5 world-class ski resorts within 2 hours, over 200 hiking trails, and a 1.5 hour drive to Banff. So if you have to live through winter, you're best to live right beside some of the best world-class ski hills and a world-renowned park. That's what you have right next door. And it's a true 1.5 hour drive away from the city, versus when we say it's 2 hours from Muskoka. Yeah, Toronto's 2 hours from Muskoka, but that's if you leave at 3 a.m, because traffic is so bad to get up there. So why are Alex and Kyle and the RE/MAX Wealth team, including Nish, Ramin, and Nick, why are we all investing in Calgary? Population growth. It's a nice, pretty slide. Calgary did the slideshow today. So the population. So we have positive population growth. So when you're investing, we're investing in roofs overhead. So number one, if you're investing in roofs overheads, then you want to make sure the population of the area is growing, which it is. It's growing significantly, which you're going to see in the next slide and what's going to happen over the next 2 decades. Calgary also has the highest millionaires per capita of major Canadian cities, and Calgary represents the highest wages and salaries per employee in the country at $66,000. So their population is growing and they make money, but their population is really growing. So the population of Alberta is set to increase by 48%. It'll be larger than BC by 2043, versus the Ontario population, which is going to increase by 24%. And Calgary specifically, the population of Calgary will grow by 62.5% over that 20 years. they're going to go from 1.6 million to 2.6 million people in that 20-year span. So you're looking at the significant growth in the city. All those people are going to need somewhere to live. That's where you want to be investing in. I'll let you talk about this slide.
Yeah, and you are seeing it. You know, where is the population coming from? There's two main sources. One is international migration. You know, the federal government is looking to bring over 500,000 new immigrants by 2025. But the other source is interprovincial migration as well. So they actually reached historic net migration into the province recently. And you can see from the chart on the left, that insane spike that went up. From about 2015 to 2020, about people were leaving Alberta and leaving Calgary. That is completely different now, where you can see in Q2, you actually had a 3,000% increase from the previous year. So tons of people returning, and many of those people are actually from Ontario that are moving out to Calgary. You know, I talk to at least one person a day that is in that situation, based in Ontario, can't afford any of the real estate really anywhere in the province, but have friends and family now living in Calgary, really good jobs, not to mention remote work possibilities. And for 500,000, I can't get you a studio in Toronto for pre-construction. I can get you a semi-detached house in Calgary for that same price. It's a no-brainer for so many people. People landing in the Toronto area, you know, you have a family of 4, can't live in a studio. So the only option for a lot of people is going to be moving to Calgary. And that's the real difference nowadays that wasn't nearly as important as it was 5 or 10 years ago. So that's going to be a huge factor for the city of Calgary and province of Alberta.
And you make the same amount of money.
If not more.
Yeah, well, you make more, and you're taxed less. And we'll talk about that more. But like, it's real. We've been investing there since 2019. It is less tax. There's no land transfer tax. There's no development charges. There's no provincial sales tax. These things don't exist in Alberta. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. I asked my wife to move there. She said no. But I'm in a different stage, you know, three young kids. We're not moving. You know, our roots are established. But if you're someone in your 20s and 30s, you know, why would you live here? You have that flexibility to go, and we're seeing that. We're seeing that people move there, and we're going to talk about the diversification of their economy as well. Strong economy. There we go. So Calgary, it's the 4th largest economy in Canada, and there's only really 4 economies I care about in Canada: Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, and Calgary. And that's where it ranks. So Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, 1, 2, 3, and then Calgary, you have 4. And if you look at it, Calgary actually has a larger economy than provinces, larger economy than Saskatchewan, larger economy than Manitoba. The other thing you want to factor in when I bring up those top 4 cities, they're the only real 4 international cities with airports. Sorry. The 4 cities with true international airports. During COVID, there were only 4 airports you can fly into internationally: Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, and Calgary. And that's where you have Calgary. It's the 2nd most number of head offices in Canada. Toronto, number 1, Calgary, number 2. So you do get those international jobs. We're going to talk about more of that shortly. Kyle, why don't you talk about how Alberta is going to lead Canada in economic growth?
Yeah, this is the proof of the strong economy, where Alberta is actually expected to lead all of Canada, not only this year, but also next year in terms of growth. And it's because Alberta went through a recession from about 2015 to 2020. That's when the jobs were shed. That is all done now. If anything, they're hiring now because of the higher oil and gas prices. They're expanding. They've gone through the downside on the business cycle, and now it's kind of back to boom times.
You can't lay off people that have been laid off. So let's say, and we get this objection. We've been getting objections since 2019. I've made $200,000 already on a sale. Literally, I invested and I sold one, $200,000. It happened. I got objections. Those people didn't make $200,000. I did. Where was I going with this? Now I lost myself. People being laid off. Okay. They shed the jobs. you can't shed the oil and gas jobs. So we get the objection like, oh, what if oil goes down again? Doesn't matter. The mass layoffs that cause the economy to tank in Alberta and Calgary, all those jobs are shed. Yeah, they're bringing some more people on, but nowhere near what they were doing back in the day. Because back in the day, they were doing exploration. They were significantly expanding the oil sands. None of that's happening right now. There are jobs being hired because they cut the workforce down so much, but they're not expanding the oil sands right now. So that's where you had a significant number of people being hired. None of that's happening right now. So you're protected against any downturn in oil and gas, and they're diversifying their economy away from oil and gas, and they're investing that revenue back into paying down debt of the province, which we'll talk more about, and again, incentivizing other companies to move there. Alberta is the lowest corporate tax rate in Canada, and as we mentioned, no provincial sales tax. Where would I want to go if I was a company?
Exactly, and the proof is in the pudding here, Alex. Like, the jobs aren't being shed; they're getting added. Actually, Alberta has over 100,000 job openings right now. They can't find enough skilled workers. It's a significant problem. And in December, Alberta actually added about 25% of all of the jobs in Canada, but they only represent about 12% of the population. So, like, that's a crazy statistic. It shows you how much the economy is performing there. And something to consider as well, there's thousands of construction jobs that are vacant right now. They're trying to hire people. So this is going to affect the real estate in two ways. It's going to probably increase the costs of building. So it's important to buy as soon as you can, because costs are going to go up for building. Same with inflation and interest rates. It's all increasing the prices. But as well, you have more people being added into the economy, good paying jobs that are going to need housing themselves. So really, it's a double whammy. And Alex, this was your point. I'll let you touch on this slide about the surplus and how it's being dealt with there.
So the conflict in Ukraine, we all know, has led to supply issues in regards to oil and gas, and those supply issues aren't going away ever anytime soon, but it's going to be a very, very long time. And Canada is a commodity-based country. So when countries are looking for safe, secure sources of reliable energy, where can they come to? Well, they can come to Canada, and that's a big deal these days. That's where you have the Chancellor of Germany coming here and looking at our energy and asking if we can export energy to them. That's where you have the President of Japan coming here looking at, can we export energy to Japan? Do you think Japan wants to get their oil and gas from Russia? No. They want to get their oil and gas from a safe, secure country that's not going to use their resources for their own political motives. So that's where we stand in a great situation, and that's where Alberta stands in a great situation. And that's where last year they had a $13 billion budget surplus. And what are they doing with that money? They're pumping that money right back into paying down any additional debt that they had, and they already forecast surpluses for 2023, 2024, and those numbers will be that 13 billion. They were originally forecasting a $500 million surplus and came in at 13 billion, and that's based on $70 in oil. This morning it was at $82 and change. The economic prospects for Alberta are extremely strong moving forward in the future. Oh, and there's our net financial debt, my favorite slide, my net financial debt slide. So you're talking about paying down that debt, and Kyle hates that word. Kyle hates the word debt. By the way, a mortgage is not debt if it's rented out. So that's leverage, right? If we're able to leverage something that's going to bring income in. So leverage is good, debt is bad. Alberta has the ability to leverage because they're in a great financial situation. So they have their net financial debt is less than $2,500 per person. Where Ontario, it's nearly $19,000 per person. And these numbers were from 2017. So the other provinces have been, those numbers have gone up, but Alberta, they're paying it down. they're in the same situation. They're in a great situation. What does that mean? Is they can leverage their enviable financial situation, and they can have the lowest corporate tax rate in Canada, no provincial sales tax. And let's give incentives to these companies to come in and establish in our beautiful province. So buy low, sell high. Cal, I'll let you talk about this one, even though I know you know this one.
And this is really, you know, fundamentals where obviously you want to make some money, you want appreciation. Timing the market is impossible, but finding value areas where there's the chance of significant appreciation is very important. And that's why Calgary is so appealing. New condo prices actually went down from about 2017, probably even a little bit before that, down to 2020, you know, over 20%. You talk to people in Calgary who had bought back in the day and they hadn't made any money for 5 years. But that's why it created such an attractive environment, because prices had gone down so cheap compared to the rest of Canada. And you've seen that really return and reverse, where prices have started moving back up. And the stat that blows my mind is that even though you have seen prices go up quite a bit from the bottoms, condo prices still have not set high since the record in 2014. That was almost a decade, 10 years ago. So this is a huge opportunity to be investing in Calgary.
And specifically in condos, and I deal with this often. Back in 2014, nothing to do with this 2014, 2015, 2016, people would be like, Alex, why are you buying condos? Like, why don't you buy houses? Here's the thing about houses. And by the way, you can buy a house if you want to buy a house. I bought a house in Calgary. So, but certain people aren't equipped to invest in houses because houses are a pain in the ass. Anyone on this call that owns a house and lives in the house, be honest with yourself, your house is a pain in the ass. And I own multi-residential houses. The thing is, with a house, you're responsible, when you're renting a house out, you're responsible what's inside the house, what's inside the walls, the exterior of the house, and the land the house sits on. There are many things that can go wrong with a house. When I invest in a condo, it's a concrete box in the sky. I'm only responsible for what's actually in that square box. And really the only thing that can go wrong is a broken appliance. And with a couple touches on my phone, I can generally get that fixed very, very easily. You know, a Jiffy app here in Toronto, things are taken care of. For the majority of our investors, that is what they want, and that's what it's attractive to the condo. And when you look at the individual that's going to be living in the condos, let's talk about 20-year-olds. Let's talk about 30-year-olds. You think they want to live in houses? And maybe once they're raising a family, they're going to want to live in a house. But you know, if they're a single person or a young couple, do you think they want to live in a house? No, they want to go skiing. You know, they don't want to go shovel the driveway or mow the lawn or have to deal with my furnace is broken, or they just want to call someone to deal with it. And they don't want to deal with houses. And again, like, I don't know half the stuff to deal with my houses. That transfer of information from our parents to us, you know, a lot was lost in that. I know I didn't get it from my dad. Kyle, did you get anything from your dad to how to take care of your house? No, we didn't get
Not really.
No, wasn't transferred over. So that whole knowledge base is lost, and the opportunity cost of a millennial's time is much greater, and they want to go do other things, and condos are what they want to live in. I just want to highlight that because sometimes people get negative on condos. I'm like, no, condos are great. The maintenance fee in a condo, that means someone else is dealing with it. That's fantastic. And talking about the oil and gas, you know, we talk about the distribution of oil. So when you look at Alberta's landlocked. And one of the big things that's happening is the Trans Mountain Pipeline. So the Trans Mountain Pipeline is something that, as Canadians, we own, that the federal government has put into a strategic investment of importance on it. And that will allow us to export our oil to international markets. So right now, the majority of oil goes through pipelines to the US. Once the Trans Mountain Pipeline is completed, we'll be able to export our oil to international markets, which will allow our price of oil, when there's downturns, to float more closely to the market rate versus being solely reliant on the American market to determine what our price of oil. That's why it's so important in the distribution of oil. Getting it out of Alberta is so important to other markets. And that's something that's going to happen in 2023 when the Trans Mountain Pipeline is scheduled to complete. So diversification away from oil and gas. Always our biggest objection point when people talk about Alberta and oil and gas, but there is so much more to Calgary now than oil and gas. And I'll let Kyle take it over from here.
Yeah, that's where Calgary is really becoming a destination for tech companies. And it's really becoming a haven because, Alex, if you go to the next slide, Calgary has continually been ranked in the top 10 for most attractive cities for workers. It's got the highest proportion of STEM graduates of major Canadian cities as well. You have highly qualified, skilled workers in Calgary. And it's really showing. You have over 400 tech companies. 3/4 of those are startups. So you really have that incubator environment, ideas, innovation happening, which is incredibly important. And I know you're going to say there's been a lot of layoffs in tech announced recently. None of that is really happening in Calgary. That's other major cities, especially in the US. Alex, just go back for a second. Yeah, and I think Calgary is actually going to benefit from those layoffs long term because those companies will eventually rehire some of that workforce and they will expand. You know, they hired too much when COVID first started, but they will expand. And Calgary is going to be an ideal location for them because they're going to be looking for low cost areas, you know, ways to offset the expenses of workers. And Calgary has that in spades. You have the Canadian dollar worth a lot less than the American dollar. So the staff aren't paid as much. You have Canada paying for healthcare. So you don't need to pay those costs if you were for like a US worker. But you also have very low cost of office space. Downtown Calgary is roughly around $17.50 a square foot. That is considerably less than Toronto or Vancouver. So if you're trying to have a significant footprint in the city, Calgary is a fantastic option to keep your prices and your expenses as low as possible. And you're seeing this where Calgary is really starting to explode. Some of the companies have reached that mythic, you know, unicorn status, over $1 billion valuation. Now there have been several of them that have come up and grown. And you're going to continue to see more of them, I think, happen. And many other companies, these are already unicorns, didn't start in Calgary, but have expanded into Calgary. Amazon already had a distribution center there. Not exciting. What is exciting is they're setting up a brand new cloud computing hub there. It's only the second one in Canada. There's only one other, and that's located in Montreal. This is going to be over a $4 billion investment, billion with a B, serious money, and about 900 jobs that are going to be added to the city of Calgary. TELUS, they just opened up a brand new office space, a new headquarters, 60 stories in downtown Calgary. They're expanding massively into Alberta, $17 billion of investment, upgrading the network and systems there. Going to be hiring 8,500 people across the province, which is amazing. And WestJet, they're actually making Calgary the global connection hub for all of their international flights. Going to put multi-billion dollars of investment into the airport and into the surrounding area for Calgary. Over 1,000 direct jobs coming as a result of that. So these not all tech companies, but big companies adding huge footprints to the city of Calgary. And the list goes on. The Haviland, not a household name, but this is a significant announcement. And I know Alex gets excited about this one as well. They're building a massive aircraft manufacturing plant about 10 minutes east of Calgary. Over 1,500 acres of land that's being developed. There's going to be a new runway, new manufacturing plant. There's actually a museum. They're going to have office spaces, operations. And it's not new, but they're moving their operations from Downsview in Toronto to Calgary.
And so the key thing, it's a relocation. That's the key thing that everyone has to understand. That means the Toronto facilities are gone. They're gone. They will be no more. They're moving everything to Calgary. What does that mean? If you work there, you got to move to Calgary if you want to keep your job. That means you're going to have a massive influx of individuals that are moving to Calgary because of this company.
Exactly. And that's why we're so bullish on East Calgary as well. Cities like Chestermere, they only have about 21,000 people there now. When you have 1,500 new jobs coming in 10 minutes away, like that's going to be a huge boom for the city, and Eastern Calgary as well, which is exploding. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. But some of the other companies coming, Alex, next slide, Infosys, Emphasis, SideTrade, these are all tech companies that have all set up operations in Calgary, and you're seeing them continue to expand and add people into their operations. And these are the sorts of companies that are directly contributing to the economy. You know, Amazon, they've got tax shelters, that sort of stuff, but these are the local companies that are really expanding and building. And I know some of these are big international companies as well, but it's a massive vote of confidence for the city overall when companies are setting up like this. And other big names, you know, TD Bank is setting up a wealth hub in downtown Calgary. They're going to be training many of their new financial planners. RBC has already opened up a new innovation hub. They've added 300 tech jobs, and they specifically cited the technology ecosystem in Calgary as a reason that they wanted to set up there. Same with TD Bank. You know, the fact that Calgary had the highest population of post-secondary education was a reason that they were concentrating a lot of their focus on Calgary. And IBM set up a new Calgary Innovation Hub downtown. And you're adding jobs, jobs, jobs. That's what you want to be seeing in any market that you're investing in.
And so we're bullish on Calgary. We're giving examples of expanding there and moving there, but we're not basing it just on that. We're basing it on history, because we've seen this already happen somewhere else, and it's happened in the States. And we've seen companies move away from California, the Northeast coast, your New York State, your Massachusetts, your Connecticut, and they're moving to places like Texas and Florida. And why are companies moving away from, you know, let's say I'll use California, for example, California and Silicon Valley? Well, fleeing high taxes. California is one of the highest tax areas in the US, and Texas is one of the lowest. Well, let's look at that in Canada. Well, Alberta has the lowest corporate tax rate in Canada, and there's no land transfer tax or development charges in Alberta, and there's no provincial sales tax. So from a tax perspective, they are by far the lowest in Canada. Expensive housing. You know, these companies are moving because they want their employees. There's a cost savings to them, but there's a cost savings to their employees because their employees can have a lower cost of living, which, hey, if my employees have a lower cost of living and they're living a better life for themselves, they're going to be more productive employees. Same thing in Calgary. So I could, if I'll go back to the US, if I was living in San Francisco, I'd be making 6 figures and sleeping on my friend's couch because I can't afford the rent, and I definitely can't afford to buy anything. Whereas if I'm moving to Houston or Austin or Dallas, I can afford to buy a house and live quite comfortably. We're looking at the same thing in Calgary. Second lowest cost of living out of all major Canadian cities, 9th lowest in North America, and you can afford to live there. You know, if we have semi-detached houses for $499. Semi-detached brand new build, by the way, semi-detached house brand new build is still going to be well over $1 million in my surrounding GTA areas. And if I was building new in Toronto, well, that's over $2 million. So very, very affordable new builds that you can get there. And again, no extra taxes on those. Incredible. And then government regulations and no rent control. When you look at what a landlord can do, it's very, very landlord friendly compared to Ontario. No rent control. No, you can have fixed term leases. So at the end of leasing, you say, tell the people to move out. Your eviction turnaround time, let's say someone doesn't pay your rent, you can get them out in 2 to 3 weeks versus 8 to 12 months here. It's very, very attractive for investors to be there and to be landlords. No rent control, as I said, no foreign buyer tax, no land transfer tax. Well, I guess we can take no foreign buyer tax out because that doesn't matter anymore. Foreigners can't buy in Canada.
No foreign buyers.
Yeah, no foreign buyers. No development charges, and a $10 billion stimulus package, including reduces corporate taxes. They did that right at the beginning of COVID, and that's why they have that enviable corporate tax rate. And why did they do that? Because they have the financial resources to do that. So the Calgary market overall, Cal, I'll let you talk about this.
Yeah, so these are the statistics from the end of December. So these are fresh. They actually had record sales throughout 2022, which is pretty amazing. That's how hot the Calgary market was. And you can see how much it did come down from the peak. Sales are down about 70%, but they still set a record for sales, which is crazy. And when you have high sales, you typically have increasing prices as well. So even though sales have come down, new listings have come down even more. So what you're seeing is really an unbalanced market. You have the lowest level of inventory in the city in over 10 years. So go back a decade, and then you have the equivalent amount of homes for sale right now. And that's really keeping the prices elevated and supported. The sales to new home listings ratio. So this is comparing the number of sales to the number of new homes. It's over 100%. This means that more homes are being sold than actually listed. And you can see this with the months of supply. It's actually continuing to go down. There's less than 2 months of supply on the market. And typically 2 months, less than 2 months, is really a seller's market. So you are seeing strong performance still in the Calgary market, even though we're in the toughest real estate market probably that Canada has seen in over 20 years. So it's reflected in the numbers as well. Benchmark prices, they're still up. They're down a little bit from the peak, but they're still up year over year. Condos are up about 9%. Detached and semis are up about 15% still. So you're seeing great stability overall in the market. And I think it's because there's so much pent-up demand that is not being realized right now. And you have very few sales. People are cautious. There's a seller strike. People aren't really listing the property because they're not getting the prices that they want. When interest rates start going back down, and they will, I think you're going to start to see a lot of activity and prices are going to shoot up pretty quickly. Now, this chart really goes to the stability that the Calgary market has had. Some areas like Kitchener-Waterloo, they're down over 20% from the peak, whereas Calgary is still up, year over year. So it's really a vote of confidence in the Calgary market that knowing it's a tough market right now, it's still performing incredibly well. You're going sideways, you're not going down. And as soon as there's that catalyst, as soon as you see interest rates tick down, and we actually have seen fixed rates start to come back down, I think you're going to see a lot of people entering the market, because I talked to so many people. It's a wait and see approach right now. And as soon as people start seeing interest rates come down, prices start going back up, you're going to see a quick shoot up in prices, I think.
Yeah. So we'll have tomorrow. It's tomorrow, right? Bank of Canada tomorrow.
Yeah, the interest rate announcement.
Yeah. So people expect it to go up another quarter basis point, so 0.25%. But then it'll stop. So that will be the peak. Our peak happens tomorrow. Okay. Why is that relevant? Well, I went back in history and literally did this today, so we don't have a pretty slide for it. But I went back in history, and so in the 80s, so August 1st, 1981 was the peak of rates in the rapid increasing environment in the 80s, and it was 20.78%. 17 months later, so it went from 20.78. 17 months later, it dropped by nearly 50% and went to 9.56, and then went down to 9.13 on May 1st, 1983, so in 21 months. So when you buy pre-construction, you're going to have lower rates. The peak is right now. The peak is that 6.25%. Now, you may be saying, Alex, you just said the rates were 20 and then they went down to 9. That's crazy. Yes, they have more room to move. No, they don't. Here's the thing. The debt levels in the 80s were much lower than the debt levels today. So the 6.25%, sorry, not 6.25, the what it'll be, a 4.5% bank rate has a bigger impact today than a 20.78% rate in 1981 because of the debt levels that we have today. So the actual impact of 4.5% is greater than 20.78 back in 1981. It won't be going up anymore. They've accomplished what they need to accomplish. Now it's going to work through the system. And just as fast as rates can go up, they can go down. And as Kyle said, when they start going down, so they're going to stabilize. So when they stabilize, you're going to start seeing activity. Buyers like, okay, I get what's going on now. I know what I'm going to be paying. I'm going to start buying. And then when they start going down, boom, 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 boom. And you're going to see people quickly buying up properties again. You know, this is the opportunity now to buy. It's not even on the dip. It's not really, but you can buy when it's normal. Like how crazy was it in January last year, Kyle? Like now you can breathe, buy, because it's going to get crazy again, and you will see increased prices. And prices in Calgary haven't really gone down. Because they've been in a downturn since 2014. They're finally in the upswing now. You're buying down here. You're still buying down here. And when rates go down again, which they will, in history, we look at history, they can go up down as they go up fast, they can go down fast. Prices are going to shoot up again, and we're going to see great things happen out there. Okay, let's talk about the rents are crazy out there too, and that's where you get this positive rental environment. So let's talk about that, Kyle.
Exactly. And Calgary has the best cash flow of any major city. And it's not even close, like by a mile. You get more rent per dollar invested. And it's continuing to go up because the rents, and you can see the rates, they have significantly increased. The percents aren't there, but each one of the different bedrooms, 1, 2, and 3, they're all up well over 30% year over year. And you are seeing a similar trend in other markets like Toronto, Vancouver. Rents have shot up because many people have been taken out of the buyer's market. They have to stay in their rent, or they're choosing to stay as renters. So it's really limiting the supply. So there's bidding wars for a lot of properties, and you're seeing these rents accelerate. But also, Calgary is one of the cheapest cities in Canada to rent. Even with these increases, it still ranks 17th or 16th. In terms of most expensive cities, where it's the 4th largest city. So there's still significant room for rents to appreciate to put it on a national, relative basis compared to where rents really should be based on the size of the city.
And when we look at demographics, when we look at the next 20 years, where we showed that Alberta's going to grow by 48%, Calgary's going to grow by 62.5%. Typically, when people go to the new city, they don't buy right away. They're going to rent for a year or two, then they're going to buy. So when you look at all that rental activity, that growth of the city by 62.5%, all those people that are going to come are going to rent for 1 to 2 years first. And they're going to be people living in your properties, providing you with that mortgage pay down and building your pension plan. And we've seen it. We've seen the success. These are, we predominantly work with Truman out in Calgary, Calgary's largest builder. Someone already asked a question about increasing prices or cancellations. Truman, being Calgary's largest builder, been around for 35 years. They don't do that. They don't increase costs in their buildings. And I can tell you, I have not sold a property ever that has increased their costs in the middle of the property. If you're buying something that you're like, this is a great deal and it seems too low, then you may be susceptible to like, hey, that project may get canceled, or they may increase prices. That can happen, but it's not going to happen with the Truman and the properties that they sell. So our latest investment opportunities, and this one's coming up next week, hopefully. So it's this here is this is called the Hazelwood and Truman. It's in Calgary East. It's the closest development to the de Havilland Airport in Calgary. So you can't get any closer in Calgary than this development. Then to get to that new facility that's going to be built in east of Calgary. It's not right in Calgary. You're building an aircraft manufacturing facility with runway, so it's not going to be right in the middle of the city. So just east of Calgary, and all those 1,500 people that are going to have jobs there, they're all going to need somewhere to live. And we're looking at pricing starting at $299. You'll have a 10% deposit structure. And
it's an amazing deposit structure. It's spread out over a year and a half. So this is the most extended deposit structure I've seen in Calgary in like 3 years.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And what else was I going to say? And it's going to have a 2-year rental guarantee. If we didn't, so we treat rental guarantees, treat them as an insurance policy, right? Let's say the market is down, then you have that 2-year rental guarantee, which you'll have free property management with, or you could choose to rent it out in the open market, which people with the increasing rents, people are choosing to do. But at least you have that insurance policy, that protection, being an out of province investor.
Exactly.
Why don't you talk more about the area, Kyle?
Yeah. And this area gets me really excited. Like, I personally invested in this community. So did Alex. We didn't purchase in this development specifically, but we are right in the heart of this. This is going to be built in the Huxley community, but it's in the Belvedere Master Plan, which is a massive 3,000 acre structure plan from the city of Calgary. There's going to be over 10,000 jobs integrating into this area, but it's not just plain suburbs. They've put a lot of time and effort planning this brand new community. You're going to have new schools, childcare facilities. You're literally right beside East Hill Shopping Complex, which is almost 1 million square feet of retail that's owned by RioCan today, and they're looking to expand that further. You have access to bike routes, public parks, but you're still 20 minutes to downtown Calgary. So it's a fantastic location. Truman's saying it's northeast Calgary. According to the Calgary quadrants, it's southeast, but really it's East Calgary. You're completely away from the airport, so any of those concerns just don't exist in this location. You're about 10 minutes away from Lake Chestermere, which actually is used for watercraft and sports. You are about 18 minutes to the airport, so very convenient. And you have a rapid bus transit stop that's existing at the East Hill Shopping Complex today. That's already there and existing. So this sort of development gets me really excited. And investing early in master plan communities is a proven way to get built-in equity into your investment and to outperform, standalone buildings that are just being added in existing communities.
I may have seemed distracted about a few minutes ago. I was double checking the deposit structure. I was blown away. I'm like, that's got to be wrong. Wow, that's an incredible deposit structure.
Yeah,
I didn't realize that, Kyle. I'm like, 540. I haven't seen 540 before. I'm like, man, I must have sent them the wrong information.
It's only 30 days.
What it says.
Yeah, it's insane. It's the most extended deposit structure by a mile of any development in Calgary, and any Truman project either.
Yeah.
That's why this is your complete investment package. If you're considering investing in Calgary or looking to add really low risk because of the price point, most of the units are going to be in the 300,000s, kind of mid 300s, including parking. You have the 2-year rental guarantee, 2027 closing. So you're only putting 10% down, getting appreciation on it until closing. Then the 2-year rental guarantee. It's everything you're looking for an investment property. And
then maybe if you don't want condos, we do have these great townhomes. The value here is incredible. So these townhomes, they're available starting with the discount. I think it works out to $475, right? With the discount.
Yeah, right around there. You'd be looking high 400s, depending on the size of the property. But these are 3-bedroom, really 4-bedroom townhomes, 2.5 baths, 2025 closing, which is the farthest closing you're going to get for a townhome product. Anything else would be closing earlier than that. Comes with the 2-year rental guarantee as well. And these do pretty much cash flow. Even at, I think it was 4%. So by the time 2025 comes around, rates are likely going to be, around that or lower.
Yeah. And that's what, if we look at 5-year right now, the 5-year right now, I looked at it yesterday, is already at 4.69%. With the inverted yield curve, you'll see that at 4% by the end of this year, the 5-year rate. On top of that, these townhomes are in the Southwest. So the Southwest is one of the most ideal areas in Calgary. So you get into a prime location. Why is the West the ideal? Well, the West, even though we're very bullish on the East because of jobs, the West, from a local perspective, gives you proximity to the mountains. That's what the mountains are to the West. So you have easier access to Banff when you go that way. Oh, are you running the money right there?
Exactly. So with a $50,000 investment, you can secure one of the top products in Calgary. And that's where condos and townhomes, I really expect to outperform over the next 18 to 24 months, because affordability has been affected mainly at the top of the market. Detached houses, especially well over 500,000, that's the slowest part of the market. And that's where you've seen prices come down. Anything around 500,000 is continuing to perform really well, very strongly, because people have been pushed down because of affordability. And, everyone wants a detached house, white picket fence. If they can't get that, down to a semi, and for a townhome, families, people that need space. And people are getting pushed down into those towns and even condos as well. So that's where Briarfield, the townhomes, and Hazelwood, both fantastic investment options that are going to benefit from the higher interest rates because of those people whose affordability has been affected. But the prices for detached and semis, starting from $499, we can get you a semi-detached property with a basement, detached garage, and a yard. Where can you get that? I can't even get you a studio in downtown Toronto. Parking for that studio would be $150,000, right? And these will rent out for the most, for the amount that you need to invest for it as well. So looking long-term, I think these are going to be cash cows and amazing investment opportunities. And you can get legal basement units in some of these developments as well. Those are going to add $1,000 to $1,250 a month in rent additional. So you can create, a multifamily unit here, pre-construction, brand new.
Yeah. Once you get into the ones with the basements, once you install the basement suites, you're going to be in the low to mid sixes when you factor in the basement suites in the units. Just so I don't want someone to call and go, I want the $499 basement suite unit.
Fair enough.
You more get to the low to mid sixes once you get to the finished basement, but they are legal basement suites. So when you look at the rental numbers on those, you're getting to like the $3,500 a month range when you're factoring the basement suite and the upper unit. Very attractive. I bought one. The cash didn't lie on these, and I was rewarded. And I bought mine, and then I sold it for $720. So you're still getting value on these, even in the sixes, because I've seen these sell for the low to mid sevens in as early as last year. And that's us.
And not included on that one was the Broward as well. It's right downtown, has some amazing incentives on it too. So if you're looking for that AAA real estate, prices are starting in the high 400s. That's still available with the 2027 closing, 10% down, 2-year rental guarantee. It's also a fantastic investment option if you did want to go for the condos.
Yeah, and I've bought downtown, and I bought in the south, and I bought in the east. So I bought it all because some people want a nice downtown location. They want that AAA location. These tech jobs that we talk, those are all downtown. All the tech jobs are downtown. So if you want to take advantage of the downtown, you're going to pay a higher price point. But again, if I compare the price point on these to what I'm paying in Toronto, and again, no closing costs, they're very attractive. And the rental guarantee on the Broward is absolutely incredible. So they cash flow significantly. What I'll do here is, if you want more details on those, you'll get them when we finish up the call. We will email out this video to everyone, so you have the recap of the video, so you can go back and look at it. You can send it to any friends that you want, and then you'll be able to book a call to discuss options further, and you have all the information on all the projects that we have.